Hello.
Hello. Hopefully it's working. Patience, eh?
Yeah, we have patience. Um, okay, so today we're going to talk about patience, and we're having patience right now with some recording glitches, but it'll be fine.
And you're back. If anybody can see this video, Lena has icy hot in her eye and on her back.
This eye may twitch a little bit because I accidentally rubbed some icy hot in there. And I'm like currently lifting up my sweatshirt because I have my back covered in icy hot. It hurts really bad, but it's okay. Deep breaths. Deep breaths.
It's all about how you respond.
Yes. Which is what we were going to dive into. That is so accurate, right? Um,
Hmm.
Patience is, well, we've joked that like we really haven't had it lately, both of us, living completely different situations, but I feel like it's been a little bit of a struggle lately.
It's 100% been a lot of a struggle. Not a little bit of a struggle, a lot of bit of a struggle.
Well, I feel like you have an excuse, not that like we necessarily want to just have an excuse for not having patience, but you have a lot going on. You're in a different house, right? That to me is
Hmm.
like reason enough to just lose it on a daily basis. But I feel like the situation that you're in can kind of warrant more lack of patience, so to speak, right?
Hmm. Yeah, I think like last night I was explaining it of like I'm just in a constant state of overstimulation. And so then that makes me a little bit more short. Now, granted,
Right.
I need to stop and pause when I respond and have more patience. I think patience is definitely a verb.
Hmm.
Uh, and so I think it's, like you said, it's not an excuse, but there are a lot more triggering factors that make it a little bit faster
Right.
for me to be like, ah, and respond.
Right. I think that anybody listening can relate to really any of it, right? Like it's easy to I don't want to say easy. It's common, at least for me, to like lose my cool if I've asked the kids to do something 800 times, like that,
Mm. Oh,
right?
100%.
I don't have patience for that. I cannot stand when I'm asking things and repeating myself 800 times because just nobody
Mm-hmm.
listens, right? So I think that
100%.
people can probably relate to that. Sometimes being annoyed with like, your spouse, maybe. I don't know. Um,
What?
I know. Brian would say, "What? Me?" Um, that's things that like people can relate to. That's a common thing that like everybody deals with. Losing patience at work,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I think that it's okay to normalize not being perfect all the time with having patience, right? It's not a
Yeah.
character.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think that patience, I'll just speak for myself, is not something that I magically have. It's something that I have to work on.
Mm-hmm.
I'm well aware of that. And that's the first step is
Acceptance
knowing
is the first
is
step.
knowing that that's what I need to work on, right?
Hmm. Yeah,
Uh,
no, I think same for me too. I'm not a very naturally patient person. And like you said, like the acceptance and knowing that Joseph and I talked about it a few weeks ago too, of like, okay, well, patience is something that you have to work on. Yes, loud and clear, I get it, right? But you do have the factors of asking the kids over and over and over, that is always the conversation. Bennett will be like, well, I don't like when you yell at me. And I'm like, I don't like when I have to ask you 17 times for something. Like, I'm glad that we're
yes.
communicating about this, but the fact that I had to ask you so many times is what caused my frustration. Like, if you just listened the first time. And
Yeah.
so, no, same. And we're not perfect all the time. And I just, it's just one thing, I think, being aware of it and then figuring out, okay, are there things that we can do to, you know, create more patience, if you will, or be more patient for
Or
sure.
figure out ways to work on it,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Well, okay, so everything starts with awareness. So yay for us that we are aware that we have to work on it.
Yay! Step number
But
one.
I think that it's easy to say, like, in the example of, people not listening, like, "Oh, well, it's their fault. They are not listening to me." But then I can control, or I should control myself more, right? I think that
100%.
patience is, like we said, maybe not something that it's necessarily just like innate in us, but it's something that is really, it doesn't mean that we have to let it all happen, right? It doesn't mean that it has to be okay. Patience doesn't mean that I can just let everybody not listen to me. It doesn't mean that it's okay for people to misbehave, or people at work not to do certain things, or not to perform, or, you know what I mean? Like, patience isn't
Totally.
saying that we have to let it all slide by. It's not, patience isn't, it doesn't mean that we can't feel annoyed, or that we have to just be calm and like, all the time. I think that
Mm-hmm.
patience is the pause that we should take in between what's stimulating us or pissing us off or whatever, and then our
Mm-hmm.
response.
100%. I think it's having to, I don't want to say appropriate, but that's the best word that's like coming to my mind right now. It's like having, it's when you pause and then have a more appropriate response. And
Yep.
again, I sometimes appropriate might not be the word of like, because maybe you do need to respond in a different way. But like, I think what you said was so great is like, okay, I'm annoyed. You're
That's
like
okay.
having self awareness of that and then pausing and going, okay, how do I need to react? Right? Like, Bennett, I just asked you 17 times. I'm
Yes.
pausing, change it or else, like just or
Right.
something like that.
Or just like, how are you going to proceed handling it, right? Like, it
Yeah.
doesn't mean in this example, like, the kid is still wrong for not listening, but we need to figure out how we're going to handle it and take that pause to
Mm-hmm.
try to work on a maybe better response than what I would do, and just start yelling, because that's the only way that people listen to me, right?
Right.
Um, so I feel like it's like emotional regulation, which I
Oh,
don't.
100%.
I don't have it.
And I think the thing too is like, and you've said it already a couple times, and not feeling listened to. Where and that goes into all
A
different
big
aspects. That
part.
goes into work, that goes into husbands, that goes into kids. And so then by the time that you're like seven things deep in people not listening to you, you're just like, just screw it. Like
Mhm.
nobody's listening to me. I'm just gonna respond.
Yes, because we
So,
are overstimulated and tired and want shit done,
hmm
right? So,
and
okay,
there's no reason to not be
let's
listened
focus
to.
on, right, exactly, the first time. Um, okay, let's just talk about the kids aspect of it for a minute, okay? Because we can deal with patience in like different sectors of our life, and maybe we have better patience. Like, I can't lose my patience at the same rate with employees, because I can't scream at them when they don't listen, right? Like I
Right.
would with my kids. Not that I should scream at them, but you know what I mean, right? So let's dive into the kids aspect for a minute. I feel for myself like they may drain my patience a little bit faster than other people drain it.
hmm
So why is
Totally.
that?
Well, I don't know, but I can tell you from my experience, I think I get triggered more when they don't like, okay, if you're thinking about like kids or even like the spouse, right? Like, I think I get triggered more by them not listening than someone else listening because of the family dynamic, right? Like, okay, I'm your mom, you should be listening to me. I'm your spouse, your wife, you should be listening to me.
Mhm.
Or something like that, where it feels a little bit more triggering of almost your position and authority in the family.
Mhm.
Whereas if someone like isn't listening to you at work, it's annoying, but you're like, okay, was I not clear? Was I, where could I improve as a leader? And now I'm saying this out loud and it's like, okay, you can also do that at home, right? And there's been times where I'm like, I'm sorry that I didn't communicate clear enough. But I think like in the home, it's like, okay, this is the home. I'm the mom. You're the kids. Why aren't you listening? It should be cut and dry, not a gray area. And in work, somewhere like work, it's like, okay, it could be kind of gray,
Yeah.
if that makes sense.
Yeah. I think that also we deal with work all day, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's customers or employees or whatever. And at the end of the day, I feel like this is when, for me, when I like lose my patience the fastest is at the end of the night when it's like, okay, we need to eat, sit down and eat, or it's bedtime, or focus on your homework, right? So I've already
Mm-hmm.
exhausted my brain all day dealing with work shit.
Yeah,
And
100%.
now I'm also, and I just thought of this right now, maybe it's like I feel safe in my home. So I can also kind of,
Mm-hmm.
not that that's an excuse, but I can also be more myself and lose it a bit in front of people, right?
Because it's a safe space. Yeah.
Yeah. But also it's like, okay, then there it's like a mess or there's constant needs or nobody really understands like what I've already dealt with all day, right? Like not that they should, they're kids and whatever, but it's just end of day triggers, I feel like, right?
Mm-hmm.
So,
Well, and I think too, going off of that, where you're like in your home, it's a safe place. If you think about it, like especially as moms, we take on everything for everyone. We talked about this in the last episode, how like we carry it all no matter what. You're like your home, then we view it as a safe place where you can kind of just like let it go. And you're so then it comes off of like you're not patient too, because you're like, okay, this is a safe place, like where my emotions can be safe versus holding it all together, right? And so
mhm,
you're like, okay, I just asked you 17 times. Listen the F up, like basically is what is coming out
mhm,
of your body, right? And you're like, okay,
right.
this is safe. But at the same time, okay, you shouldn't respond like that. But I think there's so much power in what you just said of like the home and the safe place, but then also still regulating it enough where it's like,
Right.
okay, I need more patience.
Well,
However,
and then it's also a safe place for them to feel like they can behave and act however,
100%.
right? But also, none of this is it's just all this like gray area, like you said, because none of this is an excuse that any of us can act or behave a certain way, right?
Totally.
And everybody still should, in a perfect world, listen and get along and respect one another. But it's a family dynamic where it's not always going to be like that. And kids don't listen, and moms lose their patience,
100%. And I think
right?
it's, like you said, it's not an excuse. It is just almost the realization, I think, of maybe why it happens or what causes it. And then can you control any of that or change any of it, right? So
Hmm.
that it is you are responding in a different way. But it's again, like you said, this is like so good. It's not an excuse, but it is like, okay, moms, like we're in it together. We hear you. We get it. Like nobody's listening to you. So yeah, of course you probably yelled and said pick up your toys, you know?
Hmm. Yeah. So, okay, I our point in this episode was to talk about patience, right? And we don't have all the answers. I think that we're doing this episode just as much for ourselves as for anybody else because you and I both said that we are like losing our patience a lot recently.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that okay, I want to talk about with the kid aspect before we move on to the other like spouse and work and whatever. What are some practical, easy tools that we can do or try or realize or whatever to maybe help us as moms with our kids at home to maybe have a little bit more pause after something that where we may just want to yell or lose our
Mm-hmm.
patience.
I
What's
think for
something?
me, what has helped with Bennett is acknowledging my feelings faster with him. where I will say,
Mhm.
"Bud, I'm feeling very frustrated right now. I need you to like," and still stern in my words, but like, "I'm so frustrated right now. You're not listening. I need you to listen right now." And even that has been helpful of like, and then he'll sometimes respond, "Well, I'm frustrated," like, so then it becomes more of a conversation.
Okay.
But I think, and we always talk about this, the self-awareness and realizing in yourself what is bugging you so that you can just communicate it out loud faster. Okay, I'm frustrated. I'm not feeling, you're not listening to me, and it is very frustrating. I need you to listen, and I need to walk away. And just kind of
Mhm.
like more verbalizing it faster has helped, at least for me, a little bit. Now Mackenzie is a whole different ballgame because she doesn't totally understand right now
Right. Because she's two.
because she's two. But with Bennett, it's like, okay, bud, I just asked you 5 times and now I'm super frustrated. You need to figure it. Like sometimes I'm like, you just need to figure it out, and I'm walking away.
Mhm. Well,
And
and
he's like, oh,
if they don't necessarily need you for something, it's okay to walk away and take like a freaking break or take a deep
oh,
breath, right?
totally, for sure, 100%.
One of the quote unquote tools I was going to suggest is like that breather. I know, well, self-awareness is the first thing, right? So if we know that we're losing it, which I know, I can feel it where I'm like, "Oh my God, I am so annoyed that nobody's listening to
Mm,
me." Like I get so annoyed and then I like snap, right?
yeah.
So I know that it's happening when it's happening because it's been going on for like however long that I've asked a million times about something, right? So it's
Mm-hmm.
my own self taking a deep breath and
Mm-hmm.
thinking and like point blank just telling myself like, okay, you need to take a beat or chill the F out for a second before you lose it. Take a deep
Mm-hmm.
breath, right? Call it
Yeah.
like, okay, I'm gonna walk away for a minute, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I like what you said, where you said that you explain it to him and say, like, okay, mommy needs a minute. Like, I'll be right back. I'm just gonna shoot a loop
Yeah.
around the house, whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and even giving like a buffer time when like things have to be done. So here's a perfect example. This just happened last night. My kids at bedtime want like 800,000 things to happen. And it always
Mm-hmm.
takes a very long time. That's how it's been. I need to lower expectations that like that's going to change because that's not changing. They all want to
Yeah.
be sung to. They all want the same 3 songs. They want to read a little bit, and they want me to do it all. And I mean, it's just like this long brushing the teeth, running, or like it's. I'm not kidding you. It takes forever. Get the
Mm-hmm.
waters. Blah, 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 blah. So last night we had dinner at 6. I said 6:30, you guys. 6:30 we are going upstairs, and they were like, why? And I said, because we're going to start getting ready for bed. They were
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, you psychopath, are you kidding me? Like what? And I was like, no, I didn't say you have to go to bed.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to go get ready for bed and do all the things that you want to do, and
Mm-hmm.
then you guys can sit in your bedrooms and do an activity. You can color, you can read, you can play a sticker book. You're not going to be on screens, you're not going to be watching TV. You're going to
Yeah.
in your rooms and you're going to do whatever it is you want to do. Okay. But it's
Right.
going to be after we sing, we read, we brush our teeth. Da, 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 da.
Yeah.
So we went up there at 6:30. It actually was like 6:40. Went up there, did all the things. Guess what time I was finally saying goodnight to Savannah and reading to her?
This might sound, in my guess, a little crazy, but by your, if you're watching the video, you can see Lena's face. I'm going to guess 8:30.
8:45. 8:45. I held up my phone to her as she was laying in bed and I said, "Do you remember when everybody was giving me a hard time that we were supposed to come up here at 6:30? Do you remember
Mm-hmm.
when we came up at 6:40? That was 2 hours ago. 2
That's so
hours ago.
crazy.
2 hours. 2 hours." And Wilder still
Well,
came into our room after that, like, a couple times.
I
So wait,
applaud you for that.
point being, A, lower expectations in a high stress situation. Every single
Yeah.
night, it's this, like, stressful because I'll let him stay downstairs and we're all doing stuff until 7:30, where I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
"Okay, start going upstairs. Or 8 o'clock. Oh my gosh, we gotta start going upstairs. And like Brian told
Yeah,
him last night, if you guys got ready in 15 minutes and went to bed, you could stay downstairs till 8:30.
100%.
So that made me obviously like going upstairs at 6:30 is a little extreme, but lowered expectations in a high stress situation,
Mhm.
built a buffer time.
100%.
So guess what? I didn't lose my patience last night. I was just like, all right, well, the clock's ticking. Brush your teeth, see how long that takes you.
Yeah, for sure.
You know what I mean?
Well, 100%. And I applaud you because 2 hours, like, I would have lost my patience probably about 47 different times. So kudos on that. And you like reverse engineering it, right? And kind of going like, okay, well, we have blocked off the after the evening for
Yeah.
you to get ready for bed,
Well,
basically.
and that can't happen every night, obviously. Like once softball starts, we're at games even till 7 o'clock, right? But
Oh, I
and
know.
also I wasn't doing stuff with them the 2 hours. I folded a thing of laundry. I was doing my own, like washing my face, like, putting Lenny down. So I was doing other things, but like that it worked. There was no like losing tempers. There was no like, and it made it where they weren't watching TV or doing anything and they were kind of like, reading books and doing their sticker books for a little bit before bed.
Yeah.
That's one
Well, and
example.
I think too, okay, the fix it in me wants to help you fix that. But I applaud you.
For now it is. And that was one night, okay? But I think just in general thinking about like, okay, lowering your expectations for high stress situation with the kids. If you have to go
100%.
to dinner or go to a family member's house, maybe leave a little bit earlier so nobody's okay, right? Wilder takes a long time to put his shoes on, a long time to get his coat on, to go to school. He wants
Mhm.
to kiss me and hug me 1,000 times and say goodbye. So let's just start the leaving process like 10 minutes earlier.
Totally.
Because
Well,
then
and
there's
I'm
not
even
the,
thinking too of how many times I get frustrated during bedtime because I'm like, let's hurry up because I'm ready for bed. So let's just
yes,
start it earlier. Love it.
start earlier. And it sucks, but you can be doing other things. Anyways, so that's one tiny little thing that you could do, right?
Hmm.
And know that it's okay to acknowledge that you lose it during that time, but what can you do? What can you do? You could be
Right.
aware of it and try to fix it somehow or.
Totally.
Okay, so that's with the kids. I do
Hmm.
wanna kinda talk about that we also need to have patience with ourselves,
Oh, yeah.
you know? Because during
Why do
all of
we
this
always talk about
time
that?
I mean, because as moms, we're always, like, comparing ourselves to all the other moms and like, "Oh, I bet so and so, their bedtime is just so perfect, and, like, they're not yelling at their kids and da 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 da," right? Guess what?
Hmm.
They probably are.
They probably are. Social media is not real. Half of it is fake.
So, I think that it is important to have patience with ourselves because also the kids see that side of it too, right?
Mhm. Totally.
You know, I mean, there's so many layers to this, but patience with ourselves for how we look. So self-critiquing ourselves, or that was redundant. Uh, just critiquing ourselves, how we talk to ourselves, like,
Yeah.
you know,
And I think really, that almost needs to be number one because then it trickles down into everything else, right? Just
ooh,
kind of how we always say we have to like, feed ourselves before we feed other people. It is. It's we need to have patience with ourselves and what's going on,
mhm.
and then that's going to feed into everything else that we're doing. Bedtime
Yeah, I'm
routines.
actually glad you said that. We should have done that one first. I just said kids because we started talking about the kids. But you're right. We definitely have to have more patience with ourselves and yeah, treat us how we would treat a friend, you know.
Mm-hmm. 100%.
Um, think about the positives. What did you do well today instead of like, oh my gosh, so down on yourself for how much you're behind or like I didn't accomplish this, I didn't do this, right?
Mm-hmm. It'll be waiting for you. That's where my my
All
attitude
the
lately too is like, okay, if I don't get something done on my list, like, okay, one, how urgent was it, right? But then two, it'll still be waiting, and I can keep doing it.
yeah,
So it
that's
is, have patience for yourself and give yourself some grace.
mm-hmm. What about patience with your spouse?
That's a whole other episode.
I think one of the big things with that one is men are wired very differently. In
100%. Mic drop right there. That's all you had to say.
the end, um, they want to fix things when we present a problem, and we are emotional and we want the support and we just want to vent and complain, right? This is just like one
Yeah,
layer of this. So we may be overloaded with the kids or with work and whatever, and we lose our cool maybe with our spouses because we want them to read our minds,
right.
and they don't read minds.
Hmm.
Shocker. So we have to talk to them and tell them what we need and what they can
Well,
do
and
and
I
what they
think,
can fix.
yeah, I think a big thing too has been also like for me, I'm just being like, I don't need you to fix it. I just need you to listen. That has been like a big thing, right? Because they are fixers. And so they go into like, well, what about this? Well, what about this? And you're just like, I just wanted to chat about it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think it's just there's so many different like things that I'm thinking about right now of like how they're wired differently and just like um I am totally gonna butcher it, but we can Google it later of like, but like we speak pink, they speak blue, and like all of these different things
It's
where it's
communication.
communication. And I mean, we were even having a conversation last night, and I just like I was getting frustrated, so I just rolled over and I was like, okay, like we're done talking about it for right now. We'll pick it back up, right? But
Well,
it's just
so
the way that we think.
hmm well, and okay, I'm just going to speak for myself because this is what
Hmm.
I do. I bottle everything up inside my head. It's all up here, right?
Oh yeah, me too.
I may have a lot of conversations in my head,
Hmm.
and then my spouse does not know that those conversations all took place, right? And so
100%.
I think that is a big thing. Like, so communicating, like you said, right? And even if we're speaking different languages, like I cannot hold it all in. I need to communicate what I'm thinking so that we can have a two-way conversation. So that
Hmm.
I'm not losing my patience with him because of like something maybe he's not doing, but that I've like built up in my head. Oh my God, he hasn't done this. He hasn't, he like, let's just
Hmm.
say laundry, right? And he does help with the laundry, but let's just say as the example, if I'm like,
Yeah.
oh my God, I keep doing it. I keep doing it. And I'm talking to myself about it. He has no, oh my gosh, I have to go switch the laundry. I have to go do this. He's just, why isn't he reading my mind and doing it? How about I just let him know that and have that conversation
Hey
before I
babe, can
lose
you
my
go switch
cool.
the laundry?
Right?
Yeah.
It sounds silly, but for me, that's definitely something like I'm like all up here all the time.
No, I think I can
All
relate
the
with that because a lot of fights that we had earlier on was I shouldn't have to ask you to do something if you can look around and see it. And I'm
time.
guessing it's a very common fight in homes or argument or whatever, right? Like if I see the sink full of dishes, I shouldn't have to say, hey, can you go do the dishes, right? And I
Yeah. Uh-huh.
think they don't think that way. And so where you do, you have all these conversations. It's funny because every time we do an episode, I'm reminded how much we are alike. But like it's all the conversations in the head of, okay, well, what about this? What about this? What about this? And then they're like, whoa, you want to go hang out and do something, and you're like, no, we don't have time to do that because there's 475 things that need to happen,
And you're like mad at
and
him because you've like
you're
gone
like
over everything.
mad because they're just like sitting hanging out, and you're and they're like, well, why are you mad? And it's like, because I shouldn't have to tell you that we have to do 475 things.
Yes. And I think that this is probably a very common like thing, but it is because We're wired different. Like, I mean, everybody is a little different, but men and women especially, right? So,
Right.
I think that it is talking, shocker,
Mm-hmm.
communication, um, not expecting them to read our minds and not having resentment because we are exhausted with like our whole load of being a working mom and da da da, right? Um, and just we don't have to stay silent and then explode like Lena does all this. Not all the time.
Right.
I'm being hard on myself, but you know, communicate and ask
Communicate.
because they want to help, right?
Totally. For
So,
sure.
I don't
Pause.
know. Patients at work,
Mm-hmm.
like
100%.
like you said, that's different. We show up differently at work with people.
We show up differently, which I know that this will really just segue into, I know, another episode that we want to record. Um, but it is very interesting how we do show up different in different situations. Um, and I think, work wise, especially when you're leading a team, then you do go, okay, well, what did I do wrong?
Hmm.
Versus like we're 10 times faster to do that in a work situation than a home situation, which doesn't make any sense at all.
Hmm. Because we have to
But
act a certain way,
mm-hmm,
and there's
we
HR.
totally
We can't, we can't scream at
sometimes
employees.
there's HR. Is there really HR in real estate?
Mm. I guess it depends on the position. But yeah, it is different, right? We put on different hats, you know, throughout the day with
Yeah.
different people, and so maybe it's not easier to have patience. We just have to. Yeah, I don't know, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, but
I think it
I think that a
depends
big thing.
also.
You what?
I think it depends also too on how fast you're having to switch through those hats.
Ooh,
Because
yeah.
like you think too, sometimes they're like, okay, in business, right? If you're going from this kind of meeting to this kind of meeting, you have to like read the room a little bit, right? If you're going from a sales meeting to a leadership meeting, you have to show up differently, right? And so I think it also comes into how fast are you having to switch through some of those hats, right? Like for
Mhm,
me, right? I'm in mom hat, I'm in homeschool hat, I'm in work hat, I'm in this, and sometimes I'm in numerous hats in even 1 hour. And so then you're just in this constant state of chaos in a way. And so then the patience, when you're like, okay, I've got 2 minutes to this meeting, you're not wanting to do your homeschool, all of these things. So it's like where you do have to show up different in those hats.
mhm.
You have to give yourself grace in that too.
And watch how they like bleed into one another. So like maybe something happened with work, and then you have a short response with Bennett in his homeschooling,
Or
right?
vice versa, because he's like, I don't want to do this today. And you're like, well, I don't want to get up and do work every day and pay the bills every day. Come on.
Yep. Yeah. And it can affect your leadership at work or with people and your energy. I mean, let's talk about that with all of it. Like
Mm-hmm.
if you just lost your patience or you're cool with somebody and you're affected by that. Even if you're changing hats and going into the next thing that you're doing, your energy carries over from one instance to another, right?
100%.
So, and then of
100%.
course there's the whole health side with feeding our energy and I think working out and taking care of yourself and drinking water and all of that does help you to not lose your patience as much because you feel better and your energy's better and you're more positive and et cetera, et cetera. So it's all connected.
Well, and it goes into loving on yourself first, giving yourself the morning, getting up, like you said, maybe you're doing a walk or whatever. So then you are set up for success. Because I feel like when I feel rushed and behind, and okay, I wanted to leave the house at this time, but we're leaving at this time, even this morning, getting, you know, up to where we're at for the day, right? I was annoyed
Hmm.
because Mackenzie slept in. Okay, well, Mackenzie needed to sleep in because they've been sick and all of these different things. And I'm like,
Right.
okay, well, now I got to drive. And I'm like, okay, well, would I have felt that way if I would have probably gotten my butt out of bed and worked out and like gotten myself ready? Because I also then wasn't ready because she wasn't ready. And so it's like, it's a compound and chain reaction to all of those things.
100%. Yeah. Okay. So
So love yourself, give
love yourself,
yourself grace.
and also know that patience can be a byproduct of better sleep, better support, saying
Hmm.
no to things, taking care of yourself, right? Because they're all interconnected.
Better
So,
communication, all of the things.
yep, communication, boundaries, like all of it. Okay, wrapping this up, couple practical tools. So we just said better sleep and all of that, but also couple deep breaths before reacting, taking a pause, right?
Hmm.
Maybe some transition rituals between work and home. We work at home, so it's really hard to like walk out that office door and not have things from my office affect outside the door
Totally.
less than
Might
a
need to
foot.
do a quick little dance party before we jump into
Well,
mom
seriously,
mode.
I mean, or like I have a walking pad in here. Walk on it for 10 minutes before I like transition between the
Hmm.
two, right? I
Totally.
think that phone down, like that's a tiny little habit that you can work on.
Hmm.
Maybe dinner is like phone down, no phones. Maybe
Hmm.
giving yourself more time, I think is like my biggest takeaway from recording this whole episode right now. Like more time with everything, more time before leaving for something, more time in the morning, more time getting the kids ready, more time for bed. Like that is going to
Hmm.
save a lot of arguments, right?
Totally.
And not be stressed with trying to run around and do things.
Hmm.
So, all of that, looking ahead, knowing what your stress points are, awareness, okay? But also know that you're allowed to be human and have a little grace with yourself. You may just be
100%. That was
overloaded.
a mic drop. Like all of it.
Yay! Give yourself the patience that you are trying to give everybody else.
Yes, for sure. 100% agree.
All right, I need to reload on some icy hot. Oh
Well, have patience with yourself and your back, girl.
my God, I don't have time for this today. All
All right.
right,
Sounds
well,
good. Well,
deep breathing.
deep breathing. Take a pause.
All right. Well,
Okay.
may the power and force be with everybody out there.
I love it. Bye.
Bye.